Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. In today's video I'm going to show you how to file a flight plan on VATSIM. So the easiest option and the one that I would always recommend you, since this is a channel focused on IFR flying, is just to use the Prefile option that you have available in your flight planner. Since the majority of you are using SimBrief, let me quickly show you how this works coming from SimBrief. So, up here you have the Prefile Flight button. If you click this, it's going to bring you down to the lowest part of the page, where you can choose between Prefiling on VATSIM, IVAO, Pilot Edge or Postcon. Now, we want to fly on VATSIM, so we'll hit the VATSIM Prefile button. And this is going to bring us to the My VATSIM page, where you can then file your flight plan. Now, SimBrief is automatically going to pre-fill all the relevant information for you. So here you are, and you basically don't have to do anything anymore except for hitting the File Flight Plan button. However, I would recommend you to take a short moment to go over the information. And I will use this to explain to you the flight plan filing page as well. So you'll have to file your call sign, for example here, Air Berlin for Uniform X-Ray. The flight rules, if you are going VFR or IFR, the aircraft type, in this case we're in a 737-700, so it's Bravo 737. Well, for example, if you were to use the 737-800, it would, for example, be Bravo 738. The wake turbulence category, now, in our case, we are flying a medium aircraft, so that is a max takeoff weight below 136 tons. However, it is not a light aircraft, which would be, for example, below 7,000 kilos. So, the 737 in all cases is a medium aircraft. Then we have our equipment option over here. Now, that looks fairly complex, and you don't have to understand what this actually means. SimBrief is automatically going to fill it out correctly for you. And similarly over here, our transponder option, again, SimBrief is automatically going to fill it for you. If you are manually filing a flight plan, then both equipment and transponder, just type a Sierra in. That means you have standard equipment and that you have all the equipment that you are required to have in order to conduct the flight you have planned. Our departure airport, Cologne. Our departure off-block time in UTC. So in our case it's 5 minutes past 6 UTC. The altitude at which we aim to fly. And in this one VATSIM actually slightly deviates from the real life, in that in VATSIM you always need to enter it completely in feet, so 35,000. Our airspeed in knots, and note that this is the true airspeed, not our indicated airspeed. So again, SimBrief is automatically calculating this for you, but if you are manually filing a flight plan, then be aware to enter your true airspeed. The arrival airport where we're going to, the alternate airport, en route time. Now, the en route time is the time from your liftoff until you arrive at the initial approach fix at your destination. Fuel endurance, that is how much fuel do we have on board in total, so in our case it's for 2 hours and 7 minutes. The route details, that is the ICAO routing that you are going to file, and note that you are required to enter SID and STAR in your flight plan. At least in most countries. There are countries where you are not required to do this, and SimBrief is automatically going to do this correctly for you. But in neither case, it would hurt if you just insert a SID and a STAR, so you can't do anything wrong if you do it, but you can do something wrong if you don't. PBN options, automatically pre-filled by SimBrief, and note that not all of the other details fields are actually required. So basically you could leave all of these blank. But if you want to do it correctly, then you are going to enter what's required down here. Now, the nav, DAT and SUR fields not really required. DOF is the day of flight, so we want to fly today on the 12th of August 2022. The registration of the aircraft we are flying. And note that it is entered without any special symbols. So for example, of course theoretically the registration would be Delta minus Alpha Bravo Lima Alpha, but on VATSIM we are going to leave the minus out and it's just going to become Delta Alpha Bravo Lima Alpha. The cell field over here is for a cell call in case you have one. Now in some cases you might find a cell call on a placard in the flight deck. If you do, enter it over here, enter it when you're logging onto the network. But most controllers, at least most continental controllers, are not going to be able to use cell call at all. Next we have the code field that's usually being left blank, but depending on the airline they may fill something in. RVR, that's the minimum runway visual range that we are able to comply with on our flight. In our case we're using 200 meters over here since we are Cat 3 Alpha equipped. Operator, that's the airline operating the flight. So in our case Air Berlin, Bravo Echo Romeo. Now you may wonder, but we've entered that with our call sign already, have we? Yes we have. However, imagine you were flying for a charter company and another airline booked you to do a flight for you. You might be flying under the call sign of the other airline. So this field is basically used in order to clarify which airline is actually operating the flight. Performance category, that is category Charlie for the 737-6 and 700. For the 800 it depends on the maximum landing weight at which the aircraft is certified. In my airline, for example, we're certified for 65,317 kilograms, which makes our airplane a category Charlie. However, some leisure carriers have it certified for a higher max landing weight that could possibly make it a Delta. Our alt is our en route alternate in case we used one for fuel purposes. Takeoff alternate is the next field over here. That's being used in case the weather at your departure airport is so bad that in case of an engine failure you are not able to return. Origin is which station is filing the flight. Now that's really only interesting for airlines. And then we have our COM field over here. Most airlines do enter TCAS up here, but it really depends on the airline as well. The EET field is used to indicate at what time in the flight you are going to pass into the next FIR. So we can see over here that 8 minutes after takeoff we expect to enter the Rhein UIR, and then 34 minutes after takeoff we expect to enter the Munich FIR. Next up is the remark field. In here you could, for example, if you're new, write in newbie, and that is going to give controllers the information that you are still new on the network and that they may have to treat you a little bit more carefully. Finally, we have our voice rules up here. So I don't like the term rules up here, but it really defines if you are using voice for transmitting and receiving, if you are transmitting via text and only able to receive voice, or if you are text only, so transmitting and receiving by text only. By default it's set to voice, and that is what VATSIM encourages as well, just like I do. If you feel unsecure at the beginning, you can start off on text, but I would recommend you to use voice as much as possible. When you're done, hit the File Flight Plan button. It's going to give you this green box up here, Flight Plan filed, enjoy your flight, and that basically sends the flight plan to the network. The last thing I would do then is inside your controller, inside your pilot client, once you have logged on. So in our case we're the Air Berlin 4 Uniform X-Ray and we are going to lock on the network. Now, one thing I would recommend you to do is go on the flight plan field up here and then do quickly check if your flight plan has actually been filed. So like this is the last flight I've done. Now click fetch from server, and now it's going to import the flight plan that you have just pre-filed into the flight plan window over here. If you do this, then you can be sure that the flight plan has actually correctly been transmitted to the network and that it is visible for air traffic control as well. So this concludes our look at how to file a flight plan on VATSIM. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know in the comments if you are doing anything different. And as always, if you really like the videos, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link that you can find in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.